Hello and welcome to the Short Hills Association presentation of Getting to Know the Candidate. I'm Jay Morielli, President of the Short Hills Association, and along with Tom Hildner, will moderate the discussion. The format will be as follows. Candidates will give a brief introduction of themselves, and that will be followed with 4 questions that have come from our members and our board. The candidates have been given the questions in advance. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Jamie Serruto. And as a reminder, the primary election date is June the 10th. There are 3 candidates running in the Democratic primary and 2 candidates running in the Republican primary. The 2 primary candidates with the most votes in their respective primaries will face off in the November election for 2 seats on the Township Committee. Mail-in ballots are now available. Early voting runs from June 3rd to June 8th. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom Hildner.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Good afternoon, Jamie. To
Afternoon.
begin with, please take a few minutes and tell us about yourself and why you are running for a seat on the Township Committee.
Well, first, thank you so much to the Short Hills Association and Jay and Tom for hosting. I'm Jamie Serruto. I'm a lifelong Millburn Short Hills resident. Lived here my whole life with several generations of my family growing up here and more than 20 members of my family going through Millburn High School. I graduated from Millburn High School. I'm a proud alum and having served as class president along the way. Millburn isn't just who I am, and where I'm from, but it's my roots, and my commitment runs deep. I was honored to be elected as the youngest ever member of the Board of Education, at just 18 years old. Serving on the board gave me a hands-on education in leadership, decision-making, and community service. It taught me that every choice you make as an elected official has a tangible impact on the people you serve. Beyond the Board of Education, I've continued contributing to Millburn Short Hills in many ways, including as the current president of the 4th of July Committee, as an Eagle Scout in Troop 17, all my service to my church, St. Rose of Lima, and as a volunteer across many, many, many community events, whether that be Rocktoberfest, Winter Walk, National Night Out, Memorial Day. I love Taylor Park. It's my favorite part of town. And overall, giving back to Millburn Short Hills isn't just something I believe in. It's a commitment I live every day. To me, leadership means making yourself available, rolling up your sleeves when there needs to be work done, and always putting the community first. Millburn Short Hills has always been my home, and I look forward to shaping it as a future member of the Millburn Township Committee with your vote.
Okay. Thank you for those remarks. Our first question is as follows. Please identify the 4 most important policy issues facing Millburn Township and tell us when and how the Township Committee should address them.
So the Millburn Township Committee has been faced with many important policy junctures. The biggest issue by far right now is overdevelopment. Plain and simple, I love this community because it feels like a true suburb, quiet street-lined trees, tree-lined neighborhoods, and a strong sense of community. But that is at risk right now. Trenton politicians have taken away control from our local communities with development, and we're being forced into a one-size-fits-all development model. It doesn't reflect our values. Let me be clear, I support affordable housing 100%. However, I don't support building 75 income segregated units on a contaminated dump site without community input in a way that puts every Millburn taxpayer on the hook fiscally. That's exactly what happened under the all-democratically led Township Committee. Residents were shut out of the process, and we're now facing the consequences. I will continue to fight that dump project to the higher courts, advocating for a better path forward. No question, we want to protect our schools, roads, services, and ensure that any housing is built, all affordable housing, is safe and fair to the residents who live there. Thankfully, the 4th round of affordable housing is off to a much better start thanks to the leadership of Frank and Ben and the Vote for Millburn platform, along with the Citizens Housing Advisory Committee on Affordable Housing. I'll fight to make sure it stays that way, transparent, resident-driven, and aligned with the character of Millburn Short Hills. Number 2, we have to make sure people feel safe in their homes and in the public spaces in Millburn Short Hills. Since Frank and Ben took office, home burglaries have dropped by 40%. Car thefts are down by 60%. That's real progress. However, we're not out of the woods yet. We're not done. I want to finish the job, get those numbers even lower, improve pedestrian safety, make sure our police have all the tools they need to succeed, which means technology, implementing the comprehensive staffing study, investing in smart crime fighting techniques, and creating a real-time alert system so residents know when issues are rising in the community. Third, I want to focus on strategic long-term planning. As someone who served on the Board of Education, I've seen firsthand how good planning can accomplish the goals we need for our community. We need to be proactive, not reactive when it comes to infrastructure and capital projects. That means clear accounting and clear priorities and making sure every dollar spent reflects the values and needs of our community. We desperately need this planning and to follow our plans. And finally, we need to protect our open space and get serious about flood mitigation. We've all seen what storms can do. I fully support our flood infrastructure projects and empowering the professionals and continuing to appoint educated engineers and professionals on our flood mitigation committee. I want to utilize tools such as the Open Space Trust Fund to safeguard our town. Our town deserves thoughtful, transparent, and effective leadership. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work. I helped clean up after Hurricane Ida, and I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want to see our residents and businesses suffer. Let's get to work.
Thank you. Our second question, please identify 3 significant policy successes, if any, and 3 significant policy failures, if any, of the Township Committee during the last 2 years, and state the reasons why you describe them as successes or failures.
Well, I want to say that we have seen some extreme wins this year, thanks to Frank and Ben and the Vote for Milburn team, with real leadership stepping up. And there's some serious mistakes that, unfortunately, under the years of all Democratic rule in town, we're still trying to rectify, still try to clean up. First, pushing back against overdevelopment. When Frank and Ben first got elected to the Township Committee, they immediately stood up to the Fair Share Housing Center on the 75-unit income segregated housing project on the dump that prior Township committees ran through. This was a decision that was made. They also joined the Montvale lawsuit against the new affordable housing law passed strictly on party lines with state Democrats last year. This is a clear message. Milburn will not accept Trenton-mandated overdevelopment. Quotas that, without a fight, we have to fight for our community and the values of resident-centered, transparent development. We need to use our guide of the Citizens Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Now we see a huge shift in leadership from backroom secret deals to a group that is focused on inclusivity and preventing a project like the dump. Second, of course, public safety. We saw record crime in 2023 prior to the election of Frank and Ben and the Vote for Milburn team. Home burglaries and car thefts skyrocketed. Since then, the numbers have dropped dramatically. That didn't happen overnight. That didn't happen on accident. Frank and Ben prioritized working with our police department and prioritizing public safety, making sure the resources that were needed were brought forward, and making sure the officers had the backing of the Township Committee. The result, we've seen safer streets and a renewed sense of security. I plan on building on that progress, finishing the police staffing study, and implementing the work that's already underway. We need to continue to make Milburn Short Hills the safest community in New Jersey, and I want to support the police, partner with our town leaders, and make sure we are moving forward. Third, public engagement and transparency. For way too long, residents were shut out. Look at the dump project. The public only had one chance to speak at meetings. Zoom access was questioned and disappeared. Questions were going unanswered. The charge led by Frank and Ben and the Vote for Milburn team has initiated 2 public comment periods per meeting, a Zoom option, questions answered directly, and notes taken during meetings. Residents can finally feel like their voice is being heard. I'll keep going, and I want to continue that progress. And I'm 100% behind the Charter Commission referendum. Our town needs to take a serious look at nonpartisan governance, and I trust our residents to make the call. On to the failures. One, of course, the dump project. In April of 2023, Annette Romano and Michael Cohen led the dump project housing and allowed the developer, RPM, to join the lawsuit, even though they didn't even own the land in Milburn. It was a complete giveaway, plain and simple, of land, money, and leverage, and that decision is still haunting us today. Two, lack of outside support from county and state government. Despite how much we pay in taxes, we've gotten little to no meaningful support from our county or state representatives. We need stronger advocacy at every level. Romano and Cohen tout their relationships with higher levels, elected officials, but we haven't seen those relationships bear fruit. And finally, three, failure to long-term plan. There's no Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, no comprehensive capital or strategic plan for the town. We need to change this, and I'm ready to make it happen.
All right, number three, flooding remains one of the largest long-term challenges facing the town. The Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee has been working to identify and prioritize potential projects to reduce the likelihood of flooding and to minimize the impact when flooding occurs. What projects, whether identified by the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee or not, would you propose moving forward with? If you are elected to the Township Committee, what will you do to move forward these projects?
Well, look, flooding is one of the most serious and persistent threats we face in Millburn Short Hills. I've lived through every major flood over the past 2 decades, and I've seen the damage it causes. I know what it feels like to worry every time a big storm rolls through, and I've been a part of the cleanup of the downtown after Hurricane Ida and other storms. We need long-term, permanent solutions, not temporary fixes, nor wishful thinking. Under Frank and Ben, we've seen a real turnaround. They brought new life to the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee, not politicization, and made sure that it was driven by facts, data, and actual engineering expertise. We no longer just patch holes. We think of real solutions. I'm going to keep that going on the Township Committee. We need to continue to appoint professionals, engineers, experts in the industry, and utilize the assets of our township, the great minds. Flooding prevention needs to start, with short and long-term capital planning. That means putting actual dollars behind it and a dedicated line item in the township's budget for flood mitigation and infrastructure projects. And I'll fight to keep this funding going. Let's be honest, we can't stop every storm. However, we can build systems that give us time and protection. We need to build stronger retention and detention systems upstream so we're not overwhelmed by runoff during peak rainfall. The Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee has already laid out a number of great projects that I'd like to support and bring forward, both for the downtown and our neighborhoods. We need to raise funding to get it done, and that means working with the upstream towns, and of course working with our partners at Essex County and the state and the federal government to finally set up a funding source and ensure that we're getting our tax dollars put to work. Hoboken got $250 million from the state and $6 million from FEMA. Millburn shouldn't be out of the wind. And there are some immediate practical changes that the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee has put forth and I want us to implement. For example, Millburn currently requires commercial properties to detain 4 inches of rainfall. That's nowhere near enough, and I believe we should support raising the threshold to 8 inches. More retention means less runoff into our rivers, and that reduces flooding across town. I also think the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee should be empowered, right? And they should be able to propose legislation and formally request funding just as our land use boards are able to. They should have the knowledge, and we should listen, and they should be a key advisory group. Flooding isn't going to go away, but with real planning, real funding, and the right leadership, I believe we can protect our town for the long term. And I'm committed to making this happen and partner with real professionals on our committees.
All right, our final question is this. The Charter Study Commission referendum vote will occur in the November election. Do you plan to vote for or against the referendum, and why? If the commission is formed, what do you believe its recommendation should be? If you are in favor of changing Millburn's form of government, what form of municipal government would be your preference and why? For example, if you prefer a form of government in which the mayor is elected directly by the voters, or one in which the mayor, as we have now, is chosen by the township committee members. I didn't say that, but which form of government do you prefer? Do you prefer partisan or nonpartisan elections?
Well, I want to be clear. I absolutely love this community. I'm proud to have been born and raised here and have spent years volunteering through my church, 4th of July committee, all our downtown events, and doing my part to make Millburn Short Hills an exceptional place that it is. I'm running because I want to keep it that way. That's why I fully support the Charter Study Commission referendum. Thanks to Frank and Ben's leadership, we've seen it come to fruition. We're seeing that we have a chance to take a hard look at how our Millburn Short Hills government is composed and governed, whether the structure really reflects who we are and where we're heading, and whether our current structure really, is sending us on the right path. This isn't about politics, no question. This is about people, whether our government is working for the people. I've seen firsthand how productive local government impacts progress. I mean, I served on the Board of Education, a nonpartisan governing body, nonpartisan board, and I was able to work with people across the aisle, different perspectives, no agendas, stay focused on what mattered for our students and our schools and our community members. That's the kind of spirit our local government needs. That's why I believe Millburn Short Hills should move to a nonpartisan form of local elections and nonpartisan government. Our community should be picking the best people, not the best party insiders. Local issues such as public safety and flooding and planning don't have a party. And we shouldn't be forcing our neighbors to declare a party in order to serve. The 1972 Charter Commission came to the same conclusion after months of research, and I believe the recommendation stands strong today. We should move to a nonpartisan form of government. Times have changed in other ways. The pace and methods of communication are completely different now. Public engagement looks different. Transparency looks different, right? We see laws changing on transparency. And that's why I'm not ready to make a recommendation on the specific form of government right here. I want to trust the commission on whether the mayor should be elected directly or not. I want to make sure the commission does its due diligence to study and research on what's best for our community. But how we address them and the structured leadership to be effective and accountable deserves a fresh and unbiased look. And I fully support the commission. I believe the Charter Commission should be empowered to do its full job independently. And I would hesitate to offer any specific recommendations right now. I fully support nonpartisan government in our community. And I just want to tell the community this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's critical that we get it right through listening, learning, and involving the community, not jumping to conclusions. And I just want to say that I have trust in the residents to do what's best. Millburn's best days are still ahead of us.
Okay. Well, thank you for all those answers. So in summary, Jamie, please tell us briefly why the voters should support you.
The voters should support me for Millburn Township Committee because I have a vested interest. I have proven myself as a community leader, both in my service on the Board of Education and the 4th of July Committee, numerous community events from Oktoberfest, Memorial Day, National Night Out. I love my community and I care about the future. I bring experienced leadership, no question, deep commitment, in-depth knowledge, and I want to partner with Frank Sacamandi and Ben Stoller and the Vote for Millburn team to finish the job. Together, we will make sure that our governance is defined by our residents and property owners, not by those who neither live nor invest in our community. Our Vote for Millburn platform includes allowing sensible development, safeguarding our exceptional schools, reducing crime, improving pedestrian safety, and no question, nurturing our diversity, dealing with our vital local issues, never losing sight of the real bottom line, children being our legacy, our history, our landmarks, and environment. Vote for Jamie Serruto. Go to voteformillburn.com for more information. And thank you so much. I look forward to serving the community. See you around town.
Jamie, we want to thank you and the other primary candidates for being willing to serve on the Millburn Township Committee and also for participating in our candidate interviews. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Jamie.
Thanks.